Our guest today is Eric Joy, Vice President of Georgia Home Theater Group. GHT has been integrating technology into luxury residences across the Southeast for over 3 decades. Eric is a sitting board member and past president of the HTSA Group, Home Technology Specialist of America. If you've ever thought of transforming your home into a high-tech space, Eric is the guy to help you make it happen. Let's dive in with Eric Joy on building brews and barbecue.
Welcome to episode number 1 of Building Brews and Barbecue. I'm Vince Longo, joined alongside my co-host,
Nathan Walters.
And today we're lucky enough to have Eric Joy with us. He's the Vice President of GHT, a technology integrator. Thanks for coming today, Eric.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. I'm excited that I'm guest number 1. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we'll figure it. I talked to Nathan and said, who can we get that's the best?
That's exactly what he said. I don't know, man. I'm not from here, so let me know, know what you got. And he came up with Eric Joy. Probably the last name.
Probably.
The last name got us in. It was going to be joyful. It's going to be fun. We were going to have a good time.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we're here to have a good time today. And, part of, Eric, I don't know if I told you early, but part of building brews and barbecues, we're going to talk about building everything, renovation, new homes, what customers can do in their homes from a technology standpoint. And we can't wait to dive in. But first, part of this is we wanted to pair it with some things that we thought about. When it comes to technology, in my mind, I always think theaters. I know it's going to be way beyond that, right?
For sure.
And so it's like, what can we pull together that's comfort food? Because we're just having a conversation. And it reminds me of theaters. Well, nothing better than popcorn, right?
For sure.
Elevated. What did you do to the popcorn today to make it elevated?
Well, I didn't really do much to it besides I did ruin your microwave. So I popped the popcorn. I think we went super fancy. We have, what is it, Orville Redenbacher?
Yeah.
Redenbacher, however you say it. Kettle corn.
Yep.
Real nice. I put it in the microwave. Then we wanted to put a little butter on it. So I attempted to microwave the butter. And it is still in your microwave. So then after that, I said, I can't do this anymore, and I gave it to you. So what's that last little thing you put on here?
So because it's barbecue, we did a barbecue chili lime rub.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's really good.
It's good.
And
it's very good.
You can't have popcorn and be watching a movie or enjoying the game without a cold beer.
That is correct.
We gave the beers a choice. You obviously will figure out on a lot of these shows that you only drink one beer.
I will only have one beer, which is Miller Lite, or what Vin got to learn, that was a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, as my dad likes to call Miller Lites, liquid pork chops.
Okay.
Because if you don't want to eat dinner, you just have a liquid.
Liquid pork chop.
That's pork chop for dinner.
That's a whole nother show right there. We got to have to dig into that and get a psychologist on for that one. Eric, you went with?
I went with the Creature Comforts out of Athens, Georgia. Their Tropicalia, which is a nice tropical IPA. It is one of my go-to. I love everything that Creature Comforts comes out with.
Yeah.
So
that's one of my favorites. That's the only IPA I can drink.
Really?
Yeah. I love that. And I went with the good old Heineken, the way a beer should taste.
The way? No.
No. Yeah. Anyway.
No.
But so, knowing that, we also did pretzels, the big soft pretzels, with a beer cheese dip. However, we also know that when it comes to technology, we'll talk about that it's very sophisticated, right?
For sure.
There's a lot to it. And so I elevated, in terms of barbecue, I elevated the beer cheese dip with a chopped smoked duck.
He did. He did. I was against it, just so everybody knows, but he did elevate it with smoked duck. So we'll see. The beer cheese smelled really good. I'm worried you might have over-elevated it.
I don't know.
But we'll see.
It's going to be, you should dig in at any time.
I don't know. I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you or Eric dig in.
I don't know. I don't know how that duck, I got it right out of the sky, right on the grill. So, again, thanks for joining us today. The biggest thing, having you on, Eric, is really talking about, the old adage of when you think technology in a house, everybody would say it's AV, right?
Correct.
That's what builders would say. Oh, what are you doing in there for your AV wiring? But those days are gone.
Well, they are. It's it's a challenge explaining to people what it is that our company does or what our industry does, because it continues to grow and continues to evolve. And, the builder community refers to our community as the AV guys, which a lot of the people that you're building a home for, that doesn't make sense to them. They don't understand what an AV guy is or a low voltage guy. And so what I'm really on a campaign to get people to, we do audio and we do video. And it is one of the biggest misconceptions about what we do is you're just the TV and speakers guys. Well, we do way more than that. And so if we're going to be doing, letters of the alphabet, L for lighting fixtures and lighting control, N for your network, S for shades, S for security, A for alarm systems. So there's, we're really an alphabet soup when it comes to the offerings that we do. And we just got to get people out of it's the AV guys.
Listen,
we're way more than that.
That misconception, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, in my phone, my guy I've been working with as I call him, low voltage guy. Been working with my low voltage guy since 2011. And his name in my phone is his name, Mike, low voltage guy.
Yep.
And when I send it, and I'm learning too, it moves so fast. And you're right. It used to be such a simple thing. I used to actually just set people up. I would send Mike's number to him. Like, hey, get with Mike, go to the house, kind of walk around, see where you want to put your TVs, things of that nature. That was what I was doing in 2011.
Yeah.
Right. And it is changed so fast, so fast that we can no longer do that. And I'm actually having to learn, so I appreciate you being here. Because not only are the people watching this show going to learn, me as a builder is going to learn, because there's so much going on and it's happening so fast.
Yeah, it really is. And so I got to go back and ask you, because I know we've been working with you all for several years.
Yep.
How did you get your start in AV?
Well, I tell people.
I just did it. I just did it. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, well, so going to continue on the AV, so many of our peers, regionally and across the country, named their business audio video solutions, audio video integrations, audio video something, AV something. And so AV just it was pounded into everybody that's what we do.
Yeah.
And because that is what we used to do. And then it was, well, we're going to do this. Well, we didn't add that next letter in there. We kept our same name. So really, GHT, if you're not familiar with us, GHT, we were originally Laserdisc Enterprises.
Okay.
Back in 1989. So our company started by selling Laserdisc movies. Do you even remember?
Big ones.
The big ones,
they
right?
were gigantic. In third grade, the teacher would roll in the TV, and that's what we watched movies on.
Really?
Gigantic.
Yeah, so that's how we got started selling movies, then selling the players that could play those movies. And that was through Pioneer Electronics, which also offered the big rear projection TVs. So these things were super deep, super heavy. Well, from there, let's start selling the surround sound receivers, and let's find a speaker company. And so it truly was an audio and video business. But what we have seen is with the custom part of it, right? Somebody said, you know what? I mean, I'm looking at a pair of in-wall speakers that we put in for you on the wall over there. That originally was a couple of guys saying, you know what? My wife doesn't want to see speakers. Let's take some car stereo speakers and figure out how to customize them and put them into the wall of your home. Well, this is a real thing. This is a real market for this. And so, every introduction of new technology, it intimidates people at first. And so they keep coming to the guys that have had to reinvent their business and adding that in. We didn't always do lighting control. We didn't always do motorized shades. We didn't always do the home network, and so we, try to stay at the forefront of what's going on. So
it just kept evolving.
And it just keeps evolving. Yeah. But you're back to your question of how did I get into at the time, the AV business was, the real answer is I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
Right. I had no idea, but I loved audio. That was the big thing, right? I grew up with a father who was in radio his whole career. And so I'm a music guy.
Right.
And so being involved, I wanted to be the next John Bonham touring the world, but that didn't happen. The record contracts and world tours didn't happen. So I appreciate that with this career, audio is still a big part of what I do. and there's a lot of satisfaction to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you get a lot of young people coming to your company with the same kind of thought process that you had in terms of what they'd like to do?
Well, I will tell you, it's different. The people that started this industry were hobbyists. They got into this business because they thought stereos were cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
They got, a lot of these businesses started in the 70s, and we started at selling big hi-fi systems. And then video was introduced, and kind of reluctantly, okay, we'll sell TVs too. Today's person coming into this industry, for the most part, seems to be much more on the automation focused of things. It's like they love the idea of, I can take devices that were not intended to actually work with each other. The people that built and manufactured this device weren't talking to this manufacturer that builds and manufactures this device. But I have to figure out how to make these things talk together, work together, so that, what we're telling people now in today's world is our job with home technology is we make technology disappear and we make technology behave, right? Because your wives don't want to see this stuff, so we make it disappear, and we want it to work reliably, so we make it behave. And so, yeah, the young people in today's world coming in they're focused on, that aspect of it.
And that's like the next generation. That's like where it's going next, is having all of that technology. And I notice more and more of what you're doing on our homes and in our office is not only making speakers disappear, like those cool, you plaster over them, you sheetrock, or you put your sheetrock mud right over them. Not only in doing that, but just connecting. What I'm noticing more and more is all of the items in the house are now connected. And is that what you were referring to with the different devices that wouldn't normally talk now are talking together?
Well, you can make them talk together. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like, okay, I am a manufacturer of a television. Mm-hmm. Our job is to make TVs that look phenomenal and look fantastic. Our job is not to make all of this other stuff happen. So there are other companies that's what they do. And so, in an automated world, and there is a difference between, a control system and an automated system. Control means I do something to make it happen. An automated system means I walk in and something and then triggers a bunch of things to happen. Yeah. Or, when it comes to automation, it's like when you have motorized shades that just move up and down through the day, right? When it's 3:00 and the west side of your home is getting roasted, the shades go down, right? When the sun's gone, then they go back up. It is, circadian rhythm and the lighting control so that your lights are kind of mirroring the sun, right? So things just happen in the background and you don't have to think about, okay, I want to do this, go make it happen. And so that's the difference between control and then automation.
Man, that would have been
Does that
great.
Make sense?
That would have been great at your house a couple of nights ago when I realized you were cooking in the dark.
That's right. Yeah. I needed to.
He needed the automation for the lights to come on, because I'm sitting there watching him cook, and I really was. Finally, I had to ask him. I was like, "So do you normally cook in the dark, or what?" He's like, "No, I just realized I couldn't see." So some automation.
That's what happens when you get old.
Would have been really good for you. I said, "All right, let's get these lights on."
I was trying to keep it comfortable for you.
That's what he tried to say. I said, "Well, I'm not comfortable. I'm nervous. So you're cooking in the dark,
using a knife, and
there's sharp objects.
Yeah. Now, you did mention, which I think is really cool, the circadian rhythm, where lighting technology is going. Mm-hmm. And I think it was you all that took me to see that lighting system that did, which I think is what's coming next, where it did change during the day. And talk a little bit more about how that makes you feel, because that was the sense I got. It wasn't just about the light. It was about how it made you feel, which is wild to me when you're talking about, this type of technology.
Yeah. Well, so, when it comes, we have had to become experts on the category of lighting. We have been controlling lighting for a number of years in our industry with, from a basic dimmer, to things where we're creating lighting scenes. And what we have found is that in a lot of markets, and including this one here in Atlanta, that there were a lot of great homes coming out of the ground without a real lighting plan in place. Right? There might be this needs 4 lights or, enough light to illuminate the room, but not a lot of really thinking about where the light was going to be hitting and things like that. So we said, you know what, we need to get smarter about lighting. We're going to be controlling these lighting fixtures. We need to get involved. And now to the point, even selling the lighting systems and fixtures themselves. But when it comes to the health and wellness part of this is, just thinking about lighting fatigue. Number one, understanding color temperature, right? So there is, the spectrum of color temperature. And sometimes you go into a home or a business and the color temperature is really high, 5,000 degrees Kelvin. And what I refer to it as it feels like institutional, like, okay, somebody's about to operate on me.
Yeah, it feels like a doctor's office,
right?
Yep.
And then there is on the opposite end of the spectrum, in my opinion, too warm, right? Those are good to set the mood. And so there's everywhere in between, and everybody has a personal preference. So we have technology to where, a lighting fixture can be just fixed color temperature, or we can do what's called tunable white. And tunable white means that this fixture can do anywhere within the spectrum of white and then dim that fixture as well, which is really cool. So that, when it comes to the, how you feel under light, if you wanted to experience good lighting in your home, to me, the best place to do it is the room that you work in. If you work from home and have a home office, change out the lights into that space to get under the proper color temperature and a good quality fixture that's non-glary, and it changes the way that the space feels. It changes the way that you feel. And then we're like doing tricks in a home. For example, do you guys get up in the middle of the night to take a bathroom break? Right. Well, you can do things where you can have a motion sensor so that when it senses that you're out of bed, boom, either a under bed light, go into the bathroom, boom, and it kicks on a under the cabinet light so that I'm not going in and going to boom,
Yeah.
We get that reaction. It's like walking out of your home into the direct sun, right? So this, by doing controlled lighting, things like that, allows me to, go do my bathroom break, get back in bed, and I'm much more easily right back to sleep, getting a much more restful night. Light can be fatiguing.
Yeah, it can. I mean, I think about it when I go to buddies' offices. I got, my buddy Scott, I go in, he's usually in the dark. He'll be sitting in his office in the dark with just a window open because in the office he's in has super bright, probably high Kelvin industrial lights in it. He's like, man, I just don't like sitting in it. I'd rather work in my office with just the natural light coming through, even though it's darker because the lights are so bright. So it's wild that's what we're starting to see come through, those kind of things.
Yeah. And a lot of that, what you find is kind of after the fact. And so before we get so far down that road, I'd like to talk a little bit about the planning because, when we're building a home or renovating a home, or even we'll talk a little bit about the homeowner that lives in the home and what they can do, we'll work down that road, but taking it back, because, we get so excited about, I could geek out about this all day. We'd have you here for 5 hours. So it's not that kind of podcast.
Yeah.
But, taking it back, Eric, if you said, okay, hey, Vince, you're building a home, and I know you do this with us a lot. When is it that you say, let us come in? And then this is the way we want to lay it out. Take us through that process of what success looks like to get that type of feeling that you're talking about, or to make that living give you that sense of enjoyment or just comfort. Take us through how you start.
I'm glad you asked this question, and I hope that a lot of builders check out this podcast and think about this for all of the people that are home technology integrators that they partner with. The earlier we can get involved, the smoother the project is going to go.
Okay.
Most people think of, okay, we're going to build a new home, so we need an architect to draw the plans. We're going to get an interior design firm in to help us because because that's what you do.
Oh yeah, it's got to look good with our furniture.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Has to.
And then we're going to select one of you guys to build the thing. And so that's your design team, your build and design team. We like to think that a home technology integration company should be a part of today's modern design team, right? Again, because it doesn't matter. Even the family that says, you know what, Vince, we're really not a technology people. You are, right? Every home is a home of technology moving forward, and it must be thought about as soon as possible, because what happens otherwise is you get going and, all right, the home's coming up, and now here's this new partner being introduced to the project, and we now are, we throw a wrench into the
because now we don't know where to put the rack. We saw, now we didn't build a space, or we have a space, but it'll get too hot, right? Or whatever. And so you're right. Now we're trying to get there, and you're exactly right. We're seeing that it feels, because you're exactly right. It is the normal transition, and every market's different. In Vince's market, it's usually find an architect, then find a builder and a designer. Yeah. My market is much more builder driven, where it's find the builder, then you go work with the architect and the designer. But you're 100% right. We're realizing through pre-construction on our side, man, these three are just the start.
Yeah.
These three, definitely as these houses get bigger and more complicated, we're having to bring low voltage in. We're having to bring, but same thing with our HVAC, electricians, plumbers. We need them in earlier and earlier of, hey, how do you want this set up? I'm sure it was one of the coolest things. I saw this house on Instagram. I actually had a customer send it to me with a basement, that in the storage room of the basement was one of the coolest rooms I've ever seen. It was like a control center, had all their AV, had all their individual plumbing lines coming down into it. Everything was labeled. Yeah. And I had a customer send that to me who we're doing a basement for, that was like, I want this, which goes back to your point of hiding. So they're hiding it, but they're also, it's no longer like shoved in a garage closet. Yeah. It's like people actually want it to look a certain type of way, which I think is crazy.
It's managing so many of the subsystems within your home, your music around the house, your network, your, what's going on. We're seeing people put surveillance cameras around their property like crazy, right?
Yes.
That is a big part of what we do. And so having a good place for that. And so, when we get involved, it helps. Because really, we need to plan out the real estate of the home. We need to figure out where things are going to live in the ceiling line, right? There's things competing for space.
That's right.
And if there's not a plan for it, then somebody comes and plops their thing right where the other thing should be. Yep. It's like, well, can you get them to come out and move their thing? Well, no, you tell them to move their thing. Well, our thing needs to be here. And it just keeps everything more structured, organized, flows, less change orders, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you guys hate change orders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they actually, people think that it's a good thing, but it actually costs us more than it's,
for sure.
than it's worth. And, and that's a good point, is I always tell my homeowners, well, if you don't plan and then execute the plan, at the end, this is going to be Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
And going back to a story, I can actually see it time and time again, where the customers that we've taken through the process, and like you were saying, it used to be, your architect, your builder, and your interior designer. It used to be a 3-person team, but now, no, that's changed into what I call the power team.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's more like a cog with spokes on.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of people, like you were saying, Nathan, HVAC and this and that, but our technology integrator is key. And, one of the big things is, you guys set us up with the Max Hub system.
Yep.
That's that 85-inch basically computer that goes on the wall in our conference room that you can draw on. And I got this from you all at your office, because you have one.
Yep.
And the fact is, you just bring up the plans, and it's so important that you sit there before you even start and say, hey, you can draw right on the plans. Okay, this is where you want an outlet. Oh, okay. Yep. You then, if you're going to put a TV here behind your mirror in your bathroom, try to do that at the end of a job. Talk about Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
It's like, when you can do that, I always tell, and we've talked about this, that we tell our customers that when you pre-plan, it actually saves you money. And all that money that you save from not having to cut holes in the wall later, or not having that key thing in place that affects the way you feel. Never mind the lighting like we talked about, but just the feel of your home and how you like to live. Because, people working from home, doing more at home, they need that. And if you don't pre-plan, I call it chaos. Construction turns into chaos. Builders are known for just having enough to start and it being a mess. You know this.
Well, you have to compete with so many other things. Mother Nature is one that you can't plan for.
That's right.
And it's going to happen, and it's going to postpone, push things off, make a unworkable job site. With things that you can't control, let's take advantage of things that we can control.
That's right.
As much as possible.
You nailed something that I want to go back to that I've seen. It's crazy. You said security cameras on everywhere. Not only am I seeing them outside, I'm seeing them inside the houses. And I don't know if it's because maybe both parents are working and so usually the kids are home alone, but I'm seeing cameras, like you said. It's really become a thing where, hey, we used to have like one by the front door, one by the back door, one by the garage. Now I'm seeing cameras outside, inside, everywhere.
I'm
where are we going with this?
Well, so one of the things, and while our business, we make money selling and installing surveillance systems, I fear that some people are overdoing it, and to a point where the more cameras that you have, maybe the less secure you feel. Right? It's like in some cases, I think it adds to a little bit of extra paranoia. But we take a look at, we're not going to install cameras in places where we shouldn't. There are things.
So you do kind of.
There are things that are crossing the line.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. But if we have a nanny coming over and she's keeping our kids, and this is we have a little drop cam or something on the interior of the home, or you've got a your special collection of something and you want that being monitored. We don't like putting them in the bedrooms and the bathrooms and things like that. But it's overall that the surveillance cameras are part of, I break down what we do technology wise into really, I think there's 3 different buckets. One is the fun stuff, the entertaining stuff. That's music around your house. That's the TVs. That's the home theater and outdoor TV. And then you got your practical technology, which is your lighting control, your motorized window treatments, your network. Those are all really good practical and functional things. They might not necessarily be fun things. And then the other is your life safety and home protection technology. And so that's where your surveillance cameras come in, your alarm system. And, I also like to include landscape lighting as part of that as well.
Sure.
Right. A lot of people, the alarm system is going to alert the fire department and the police department to come. They are going to, hey, something has happened. Come check it out. The surveillance system I'm going to record and capture the event. Right. Vince is the one that broke into your house. Let's go get him. But
that did happen.
But the landscape lighting, that is the one technology that is actually potentially going to prevent the incident from happening.
Sure.
Yeah. Your home is lit up. I'm not going to break into your house. Vince's house is dark. I'm going to his house.
Talking about the paranoia of security cameras, that's this guy. I watched this guy on a golf trip get a notification on his phone that someone was around one of his job sites. We're not in Atlanta. We're in another state. So like you said,
you know how hard it was to get an airline ticket back that fast?
All he could do is watch it. And I think the best thing about this story ever is he calls his wife and asks if she'll go check it out.
Because it was a random van, and it wasn't until it was done that I was like, I started thinking,
check this out.
And there she is, and she pulled up, and she's right next to this white van. And I started thinking to myself, I don't know if that was a great idea, but I love Amber to death. I can't believe she did that. But
I can't believe she did it either. We're sitting there. I was like, did you just call your wife?
And it never dawned on me until he's like, do you know that she could potentially get stolen? I'm like, I tried to get her.
He tries to get her on the phone. But
like, what a great husband.
I joked because that's funny that you said that, because I was giving him heck. I said, buddy, you got all these security cameras and all you're doing is watching people steal stuff from you. I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I know they have
I watched a guy throw the camera down into a ravine. I'm like, I think they're stealing stuff.
Well, people are getting bold,
Yes.
right? People know, they see that camera on the front door. They see the Nest doorbell or the Ring doorbell, and the way they will disguise themselves in garbage bags or boxes or what to come and steal the Amazon packages.
That's right.
Or a construction site is absolutely susceptible and vulnerable, right? It's not finished. There's materials in there that are worth money, right? I'm assuming people are still going and, where copper is being used, they still go get it. I know that we've trying to move away from copper as much as possible. Or of course, just punk kids that want to vandalize and do stuff. Have you ever been a victim of that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, we have I remember, I think my wildest story in stuff getting stolen was I was in a house. I was walking around it. Man, something is off. And I went into the garage, and the dishwasher's still there in the box, and the vent hood's still in the box, and the disposal's out there. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Getting inside the house is almost done. They'd stolen the oven right out of the wall.
Wow.
But all I could think about was, man, must have really needed an oven, because that seems like the hardest thing you could have stole, other than the stuff that was in a box, in a garage, that you could have just backed your truck to and gotten. But I still remember to this day, like you said, they come in, they do it, but it being like, well, I guess they really must have needed an oven.
Because I wish you had a camera.
No, because then I would have just watched it rather than got to do anything about it.
No, on your job sites, you definitely need a job site surveillance and, a big sign, letting people know that this property is being, is under surveillance.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to do whatever you can to deter something from happening.
I do think that helps. And so now we talked a little bit about pre-wire and the importance of that and laying it out. And if you're, but what about, Eric, those people, the homeowners that they're living in their home? I get a lot of conversation or questions from homeowners if we're building, remodeling, even customers that have moved in their house and been there for a couple of years, where they'll say, if it's pre-build, they'll say, well, I hear everything's going to wireless. Do we really need to pre-wire?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that first, and then I want to transition that into what can our listeners do if they're homeowners and they want to add this technology? How would they get with a company like GHT and start down that road? So take me back first.
Well, first off, I'm going to thank you gentlemen as builders that allow a company like ours to come in and put in a proper infrastructure. So often we meet with a prospective client, and they say that the builder's not going to let anybody come in and do any wiring. Right? You can come in and do whatever you want to after you move into the home, but not, and you're like, well, that doesn't do you much good. Right, to have the home completed. And I get it. We know that when we come in, we're another trade, we're one more thing, and it's going to take our guys, hopefully not forever to get, but we're going to be in there working. And I know that, or at least my perception of working with builders is one of the most important things to you as a partner is your time, right? Your time and getting that project done. And so we try to make a commitment that we're not going to be the trade that pushes, getting your CO, back. But yeah, so there are a lot of builders out there that don't allow these types of things. So thankfully, we have guys like you that understand the importance of it. And so then it comes to, people say, well, we're just going to do wireless stuff. So it's like, well, what everybody needs to know is wireless things still have the ultimate wire, which is a power cord, right? It doesn't work without one of those. So are you thinking about where you need outlets for these things? But, a hardwired system is always going to be the one that works the most robust, works the most reliably. If you found that as you walk around your home with your phone or your laptop, that I get better connectivity so I want my devices to be hardwired as much as possible. Wireless is talking about the way that this one, will, I want to hit this on my phone and it tells my speakers to play AC/DC's Thunderstruck. I'm wirelessly communicating to do that, or wirelessly opening my phone and saying, you know what, I'm going to dim my lights to this certain preset. But I don't want don't think that you're just going to plop boxes of technology around your home and they're wirelessly going to work.
Let alone that doesn't look very good.
Correct. Yeah.
And one of the biggest things, and as we move forward, at that point is where I get the most pushback from customers. First off, when we're bidding a project, whether it's a reno or new home, I've always, and builders do this, and they've told me this, is they get scared. They know that customer wants to live a certain way, needs a certain technology, that could get the most use out of this, but they're afraid to tell them the pricing. They're afraid to put that budget in there for a pre-wire. We talked about this a little bit earlier. A lot of times I'm bidding against a builder that might put in $2,500 for their electrician to run some Cat 5. Cat 5 is the old wiring. It's now way advanced to Cat 6 and beyond. But they're getting stuck, and they get so caught up in just the cost today that they're not thinking, in my opinion, they're not thinking about the end result, or what does this look like in 2 years when the stuff that they put in by an electrician that may not have thought it through doesn't pay off. But yet, we put in a real robust budget, because we know a good pre-wire on a normal size home is north of $10,000 to do it right. But all of my customers have told me at the end, you have that conversation of like, oh, okay, I want to install speakers now. And you look and say, well, we never wired our speakers. Remember that conversation we had, a year ago in planning, and you didn't.
So this is the benefit of us getting involved in earlier stages. And so one of the things that I would tell any builder is, if they say, I'm having a hard time helping my clients come up with a budget, a technology budget for their home. It's like, well, you know what, Vince? You're not qualified to come up with a technology budget, not any more than I am qualified to come up with a budget for the windows in your homes. And so if we're working together out of the gate, it's a lot easier for our team to explain why this pre-wire is this versus, there's going to be a lot of wires and you're going to be, whatever, right? We'll talk it through and explain it. Because there is a lot, you wouldn't think about, the wiring for your access points for your network throughout the home. If you're going to do motorized window treatments, while you could come in on the back end and do battery powered motorized shades, right? The best way to do it would be to pre-wire for that, right? And have high voltage and low voltage control there for those shades.
Like you talked about, then they could be automated, because I've heard those stories. I've never actually seen it, but I heard stories of where there was a customer. It was like, as the sun is setting, I want every 15 minutes my shades to be lowering or raising to keep the sun, which I think that's wild and awesome.
That's a great point. And that brought up a spectacular story. We built a house where, the windows are massive now in houses. And the window walls. And we built a house where the stairwell is in the window.
Okay.
And we didn't even think during planning, never even crossed my mind to have a pre-wire for electric up by those windows. And GHT thought of that. And you guys caught that in the early on stages and said, you might not need the outlet up there now.
But you do.
But sure enough, they were in there because, they moved in early spring. And the sun was coming.
It's coming a different
direction. But you were in this past summer with the heat, the way that window faced in the summer. They were so thankful that GHT put in the plan to have that outlet there, that they were easily able to add those automated blinds. Because who's going to reach up 20 feet in a window in a stairwell to try? And so it was brilliant. And the customer looked at me like I was the hero. I'm like, well, no, GHT's the hero.
I think that's what you're really hitting home. And it's even for me, because again, when you've been doing this for a while, like Vince and I, Vince longer, but just for a while for both of us, Man, things are, builders are all generally the same. And I know you know this, you work with us. We are type A and we don't like change, right? That's a builder.
Yeah.
Like I just nailed almost every builder. It's like, well, this is the way we do it. And you're like, okay, well, it's not 1999 anymore.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm hearing from you, which I think is great, is how much earlier we can get you guys in. Now, I think it does twofold for builders and for the consumer. Hopefully the consumer's listening, and they can, if for some builders that aren't listening to this, and you can say, no, we want to bring our guy in early at the plan stage for twofold. So we can make sure we have it pre-wired correctly and we have the right budget.
Yeah.
Because you're right, as a builder, you're right, I don't know. Well, what is it that I should be budgeting for? I don't know.
As a builder, you have, how many ingredients go into that home? You can't be an expert on most of them.
Yep.
Right? You can be well-versed and knowledgeable about all of them, but it really is hard when you have that many things to be, a jack of all trades and a master of them all. You need experts in all of the different things. That's why, that's why you're not doing 100% of the thing by yourself. That's why you have a team. And
not be scared of inviting and putting that team together early.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've talked a lot about pre-wires and the importance of it, because it sets the stage for what's coming next. And that's, we get to finish. So as we work through the pre-wire, my rule of thumb is put it all in while you got the walls open, right? Plan, execute the plan, get it all in there. Now, it comes to finishing, right? That's a whole nother budget. We do the budget for the pre-wire, then we do a budget for the finishing items. So when you're sitting down with either the builder or, more importantly, the homeowner and how they're going to live, take me through how you all present. Is there a layered system where you say, hey, first and foremost, this is the most important for you to get down first? Then this, take me through that.
What we try to do, and we're pretty much insistent on it now at this point, is you're not going to get one proposal from us. Your pre-wire is going to be its own thing. Here's our infrastructure proposal. And then the next one isn't just going to be, well, here's everything else. If we're doing motorized shades, let's put it on its own thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we have, because there could be specific meetings about this part of the project that don't involve you, right? Don't involve, it's us and the interior designer that are working on this. And let's get that. And then let's say that we are doing lighting as part of this project. Here's the lighting control and lighting fixture schedule. And then here's all of, we could maybe even do alarm and surveillance on its own, quote, just depending on the size and scope of the project. Because, you guys are building homes that are massive, and there's a lot of things in there. So we know that with the more little ingredients we have in there, it's harder to comprehend. So we want them to be able to be, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do we go through this big proposal? One bite at a time, one category at a time. And so we'll do that. So it's yes, absolutely. I understand that this is what we're going to do for our window treatments around the home. Check. We like that one. Let's go to the next thing. And it also allows, I think it allows for more productivity. I think it is less fatigue for the client to just take a look at one line item and have sticker shock. This shows you where all your money's being spent.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I like that part of it too, because on the fatigue, we've been seeing a ton of that. We're calling it selection fatigue around our office. We're like, man, we got to change this process up into, it's going right into line to what you're saying. Yeah. So for anybody listening, definitely, if your builder is telling you these things, this is why we've been really pushing, I know you have too, for more upfront. Not only does it stop a lot of chaos like we talked about, but there's a fatigue of going through these builds. And when the build's going on, which is already for most consumers hard to watch because we are building something so emotional to them and so valuable to them, but it's out in the elements and things are happening to it. Then we're like, hey, I know it's Thursday and you're having a rough day at work, but we're ordering your interior doors. What hinge color did you want again?
Yeah.
And, those calls as they're stacking and then as they're getting hit with a bill, one big bill 6 months down the road about, hey, all that pre-wiring you did, here's here's this, here's the other stuff. And as that's all like rolling down the hill, you're right. I'm watching the consumer be fatigued, which ultimately leads to them not enjoying the build.
For sure.
And so what you're talking about, which I love and what I think that people should really push for and or agree to with their builder to do is, man, the more you can do when you're excited, and when you're the most excited was when you decide to pull the trigger. We're going to do this. We're going to build the home.
Yeah, this is the biggest investment that this family has ever made.
No matter the price.
Almost for sure, right? And it is a terrible feeling when you see the exhaustion. It's like, oh my God, our house is never going to get done. Yep. So one of the things that we do at GHT is we have what we call the rack factory. And so in the back of our building, if you come and take a tour, we've got a gentleman in the back. So we signed the contract with Mr. and Mrs. Longo. I'm going to say, Vince, are you box savers? Because if you are, when we come out to do the installation, we'll bring you all your empty boxes. If not, we're going to go ahead and get rid of them now, because we're going to go ahead and as the gear comes in and as those racks come in, we're going to make sure that we don't have any DOA, right? We don't have anything dead. We're going to do any software or firmware updates to those products. We're going to wire them. We're going to label them, and then we're going to let that rack run for 72 hours or so, make sure everything is good, so that we know that, you know, our trade, unfortunately, we're usually the last guys on the job site. And so therefore we're the ones being looked at as like, get out of here. All right, get out of here. We want to move in. And that's when mistakes happen, because it's like, okay, we've gone beyond the schedule here and we want to be in here for Thanksgiving. You have to be done. So the team rushes, doesn't, you know, missteps. The way we do it is we come in with a fully functioning rack. And so boom. And then it's limited amount of installation, and most of it is verification, right? So we try to do as much off-site as possible.
It's really incredible, and you're one of the only ones I've ever seen do that. And there's a lot of them over the years. I've been doing this for many 25 years, and it's incredible the way they have them set up in there. It is, like he said, a rack factory.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
Oh yeah,
that's amazing, because usually they're running all those tests at the house. While, like you're talking about, house is clean because we've cleaned it. You guys don't really make a mess. And the way I've usually seen it, what I've walked into before is my guy is in the closet working on the rack while the customer is standing over his shoulder.
Why do you do? Yeah.
You know what's going on here? He's trying to test run it, which I can imagine is not fun for him.
No.
But what a process that you do, because you're getting that without that. You're coming in, plugging it in, like you said. You're now more running a verification than well, let's see what happens.
You know, we continue to take a look and say, what can we do to make the process and the end result let's get to the finish line faster. One of the things that we have been guilty of for way too many years, and we've changed our process. It used to be we would come out and we would look for the keypads for the lighting. We're determining upon installation of what do we want these buttons to be engraved. Why did we wait till now? What are we doing? Right? So what we would, in result, you move into your beautiful new house and we've got little cheat sheets next to the keypad so that they know what the buttons do. Now it's like that is part of our process, is we are going to figure that out. So when we install a keypad, that keypad tells you exactly what they're going to do, right? Because when you move into your new home, I'm ready to entertain. The last thing I want is people to say, why do you have Post-it notes all over your house?
With handwriting, it's illegible. You can't see it.
Yeah. And that's what really goes back to that pre-planning. And, you know, you get that figured out up front, and the customer enjoys that. It's like what you said with the selection fatigue, you know, but it's so important. Like with us, we want 85% of the selections made before we do a handoff from pre-construction to physically construction in the field and that's at permit time. Now, what we found is our customers are happier and they're able to pre-plan their dollars. Like you said at best, Eric, you're at the end, so everybody staring at you. We're ready to move in. We want our TVs up and going. But it even goes a step deeper than that, to the point where if you don't pre-plan that, you're not going to have the budgets, because you know what happens in construction? Everything. Chaos. You know, there's overruns. And so if you're not pre-planning and pre-selecting all those finish items to allow you all to go make the rack, get the engraving done. Then you get to the end, there's no money left. And then they're upset and they don't get, and they move in and they've got just a vanilla house with, things that are just wired.
Man, I think what I love that I want anybody listening to this, any listeners, man, look for a company like you guys and to our audience so they know I just met you. So I'm not even pitching you, but I love, because this is what I've had to tell customers of ours. Hey, if you heard this about 3 years ago, that customer's right. We weren't doing that right. When we learned that through that, I love hearing you say, man, we were doing it this way and years ago, putting Post-it notes up and had no idea why people were so pent up about it. And you're like, why didn't we change this? And I love hearing you say that. So for any of our listeners, man, anybody, and I mean your builder, your tradesman, anybody who is willing to be like, yes, 3-4 years ago, we were wrong, but we have learned from that. That is super valuable because we see that. We see that in ourselves, where I even see it where people may have thought we were good, but 3 years ago, I'm like, man, we were really falling short in these areas. And then no wonder sometimes people were anxious, right? Because we weren't doing enough up front and we weren't getting ourselves situated.
Well, and if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
If this is the way that you've always done it, like you said, a builder is a creature of habit, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
But for, builders or, somebody wanting to have a home built listening nationally, GHT is, we're part of a group called HTSA, which is Home Technology Specialists of America. And we have members that do exactly what we do in every nook and cranny of the country. I think we're at 101-ish members across the country.
Wow.
And so that's what's great about it. I know that you guys are part of a group and you guys share ideas, and we do the same thing, right? So it's sometimes you might have a challenge or face something really custom, and we've never looked at something like this before. Well, let me see what my peers have done, to get this across the finish line.
So to that, you've got, and we talked a little about your rack factory.
Yep.
And I know we're got to be mindful of your time. Tell us a little bit, and Nathan's not been to your office in Marietta, your showroom, but it is incredible. Tell the audience a little bit about how you're set up with your showroom, what it's like, and why they should come visit with you, whether they're planning to build building, or more importantly, that homeowner that has a house that says, I'm really intrigued by technology. What is it that I can do in my home to add those changes? I think you've got the setup there that you can actually show them with this space. Tell everybody a little bit about your space and why it works.
So our space, we're very proud of it. It is overall building is just shy of 21,000 square feet, so it's big. It used to be a office furniture store.
Okay,
and so that's how I met him. I was in there looking for a piece of furniture. Walked out with a brand new theater.
Yeah, you were a few years too late to get the office furniture.
Walked around with a Mitsubishi Elite. One of those things that was about this deep.
The big ones.
Now I sleep in it.
Yeah, but no, our facility is set up so that we have, and it's evolved, right? Where it used to be a lot more on showcasing, multiple home theater rooms. We have 2 home theater spaces, medium size and a larger, more grand theater. But we're allocating a lot of this space to design services, right? We have what used to be a hi-fi stereo listening room. We've got a team in there doing 3D renderings and the rack elevations for the racks that we're doing, lighting design, CAD work. Our conference room, just like here for Vince, has become maybe our most important room. That's where we're sitting with the client. That's where we're bringing in surfaces and materials, the things that we're going to talk about. We like to make it comfortable so that, if we need to talk about this project, let's do it over lunch, right? We'll bring in lunch and we're going to take our time to do it. Taking people back into the warehouse in the rack factory so that they can see and have the confidence, because otherwise, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of money. And this shows you that, look at all of these projects coming together, what we do on the front end to make sure that when we get out to your home, things are operating they're supposed to. But we have probably the best investment in our space is we've taken a space that looks like a kitchen that rolls into a dining room that used to be all about, it was a speaker. listening room. But we made it into a kitchen and a dining room. And at first, when we did it, people said, I don't understand what this space is all about. I don't see any technology in here. It's like, that's right. You don't see any technology in here. Let me show you what we do. Boom. This happens. Motorized shade comes down over the window behind you. Motorized lift comes out of the cabinet with the TV on it. All of the lighting, and we showcase, 2-inch round, 3-inch round, 3-inch square, flangeless, the different color temperatures, show how layering of light works. So how many homes have you ever been to? Maybe you lived in one as a kid where the decorative fixture in the room is the only source of light, right? Well, that gives me enough light to see in here, but it doesn't really look that great. Let's add in this layer of light, some linear lighting around the cabinets, and it just makes the room come alive. So we're actually able to show you, the benefits of these technologies in person. And then it's a space to where, and it, in my opinion, this can be too much selection. It's like, okay, what fabrics can we do for our shades? Oh, well, here's about 500 of them. First, get the interior designer in here. She'll get us there. But it's in addition to that, is we love that our outdoor space, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that sets us apart from what we do have is our outdoor space. We have a real wood burning fireplace with an outdoor TV above it. And currently right now we have 7 zones of outdoor audio, right? And, outdoor living here in our part of the world is, unless it's raining, or, those few days a year where it's just too hot or too cold, we can pretty much entertain year round here. Yeah. So outdoor TV, outdoor music, outdoor network, the Infratech patio heaters is now a new thing that we do.
Man, something that he nailed on that I love, that's something that I think that anybody listening to this podcast will hear from me. What he's offering, I feel like, you said it earlier, it's how customers feel with the lighting. But we're seeing that through the builds as well as how they feel about the house is how they feel during the build. And what you're offering is a word I'm going to say is you guys are offering some awesome customer service. Come in, let me bring you lunch. Yep. Let's make this, because like you said, you're spending the most money on one item that you probably have ever spent. And it doesn't matter the price point of the home. That's the most money they've ever spent. And getting to have customers feel that type of way and be like, come in, have lunch. Let's look this over. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And they're creating the whole customer experience, which was what we want to do with the home building. And our goal is, and that's what you're doing, but it's also for anybody, if you just want to add some TVs to your home, the takeaway is find no matter where you are in the country, find a great provider like a GHT. And there's organizations that you can probably look up and see who's part of that.
For sure.
And go in there, see what they've got, feel it, and then you can make an informed decision and something that's more economical. I would say just don't go to Best Buy or a place like that. Just say, I want that. It's go to a technology integrator that can display it, see it, feel it, and build that relationship. Because that's what your business, I know, we've got an unbelievable relationship with you and in your company. That's what it's about.
Well, we try to have an attitude of we want to be open to everybody, right? Our doors are, we're not an appointment only operation. If you come to us and whether I tell people all the time, whether you rode up in on a rusty bicycle or a brand new Ferrari, right? We're all human beings. Come on in. Yeah. Our advice is free, right? And we hope that we can do business with just about everybody. But if not, our advice is free and we'll steer you in the right direction.
Awesome.
Everybody deserves a great technology experience.
Any takeaways as we wrap up?
Biggest takeaway that I have is that neither one of you finished your beers. Oh, and I'm severely disappointed in both of you.
I was learning.
Well, what I learned is when you said that all beer should taste like Heineken, is you lie, because beer should taste like Miller Lite, because that one's
my goodness.
Yeah, you probably dumped it under the table.
Please.
Where can people tell us a little bit? Where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? and, give us all your information.
Yep, for sure. So GHT Group, ghtgroup.com. We didn't touch on this, but we have our main office is here in Metro Atlanta in Marietta. We also have an office in Homewood, Alabama, just outside of Birmingham, and a office in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, down on the 30A.
So you can kind of cover a huge southeast swath.
So we do. Yeah, we absolutely do. We regularly do projects that will carry us, up into the Highlands area of North Carolina.
Wow.
Go up to Chattanooga. We've got vans all over the place.
And you also do high voltage.
And we do high voltage electrical as well. So that's how you find us, ghtgroup.com. If you're somewhere else out there in the country where we can't get to, HTSA, Home Technology Specialists of America, you can go in and type your zip code and find somebody like GHT in your part of the woods.
Awesome. And so we're going to have recipes in the show notes.
Yep.
Also, we'll include your contact information in the show notes for anybody that's wanting to get in touch with GHT. And thank you so much for joining us today. Please like and subscribe if you like this to hear more. We'd love to be in touch with you. So send us any messages or who you might like to see on the next show. Any final things for you, Nathan?
You ended it well. Just please, like you said, I think the best thing, let us know as listeners who you want to hear from, what specialty you want to hear from, what drinks you want us to drink, Miller Lite preferably, but we're welcome to try anything.
Yeah, and we'll get you back again soon. Thanks, Eric.
Awesome. Thank you.
Eric.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. It was awesome.